everyone. We're live. Hi, how are you, Gina?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good. Gina, I'm so excited to have you here. I have a love-hate relationship with today's topic, as I think most of my viewers know. So I'm glad I'm not doing it alone. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself, your company, what you do, how you help? Because I gave people a preview on my last Facebook Live that you have a very unique approach to sales. I didn't spill the beans on that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
There's a secret recipe, but yes, my name is Gina Garish. I'm from the East Coast, so I'm in Northeast Pennsylvania. And I work with small business owners, entrepreneurs that struggle, that want a simple solution to sales. And they struggle with their own self sabotage and fears of selling, but they really want to be able to double and triple their revenue. That's easy, fun, and lucrative. What makes me unique about what it is that I do, that I use horses for our training. Yes, we don't train horses, but actually you do interaction on the ground activities that are empowering you as individuals to help you overcome your limited beliefs or even discover your strengths. And so it's quite powerful. What makes it so powerful, Zoe, is that, when you think about it, experiential, the things that we do in life, whether they cause us a whole lot of excitement or they cause us a whole lot of pain, creates an emotion that then we remember. And so when we put these activities together with the horses to help people to learn, because there's an emotion and an experiential experience, it's extremely impactful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't own any horses. I don't have any near me, but I have a dog, and he may as well be a horse because he's so lanky. But there's something to be said, I think, sometimes about exactly what you said, the emotion of it. My dog calms me down when I'm, super hyper or upset or whatever the case might be. So I can only imagine a big beast like a horse. And, I've, you and I talked a little bit about my experiences with horses, but what that can actually literally bring to the table because you get out of your head. You're with a big beast, right? So
yeah, and I mean, if you were to think about the horse as being a client, and a client doesn't do what you want, how do you respond to that? So you can't verbalize it. You have to actually go inside and start to ask yourself questions. And I mean, everyone feels like answers are always outside of themselves, when the reality of it is it's really inside.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, great. So let's start with the first question, or let's talk about why we need sales. So why don't we talk a little bit about, I'm in the event business. I know that you said that you have entrepreneurs and small businesses that you help, and oftentimes we wear all the hats, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm the salesperson, I'm the marketing person, I'm the financial person, all of that kind of stuff. So why do we need sales? Why sales? And other than running a business and bringing in money, let's talk about that.
Well, I mean, I think, you have to look at it is that people usually come into a business as an entrepreneur because they're passionate about something and they want to be able to give something to a community of people. But the sales, right, we have to provide for ourselves. And so in return, we get paid to do what we're passionate about. So we have a means in order to, to live with. So, it's very interesting, especially with entrepreneurs, that it's really easy to get caught up in those everyday minutia things because we have so many hats that we have to do. But we forget, right? Because the hardest thing in business is making the sale, right? Because we can do all those other things really simple behind the scenes, kind of stuff. But when we come out, we have to come out into the forefront and make the sale. And so often, well, I'm going to save the end of that for a few, but so sales is what really drives everything, right? And when we're not doing revenue driven activities, well, then that's a whole nother discussion.
Right. Yeah. But I think there's something too about sales, and I hear this all the time, even, and I've experienced it personally, where you feel sales is such a slimy word. Right? Sales is, I have to sell myself. I have to, like, there's just these connotations with sales where it's like, no, we're not talking about sales. When you start changing that paradigm, that's kind of one of the first steps because I'm not necessarily knocking on people. That's marketing, knocking on people's doors saying, I have this service, right? That technically is the sales. A sales call really is more of a, hey, what do you need? How can I help you situation, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it's more about enrolling them in, so you can either, if you focus on yourself, it feels salesy because you're trying to sell something. But if you focus on the client, then you're helping them to a better place, right? Or
Right.
you're helping them have a better experience, or you're helping them grow, or whatever it may be. So it's more of like you're enrolling them into something that they want.
Right, exactly. Right. I'm not, I think in our industry specifically, I'm not going door to door sales. That was a thing of the past, right? Where they had the, now we're
Encyclopedias.
doing door to door sales. So I think that's really the first thing that people need to change. But you absolutely need sales, and there needs to be a tactic to it. And so let's talk about this, because the problem with sales, number one, what we said is people think it's a slimy word. People feel like they have to sell themselves. I have a client right now who that was her biggest hurdle. And I said, no, you don't have to sell yourself. You just really have to, that's the marketing aspect of it, attract the people that you're looking for, and then seeing if you guys are going to work together, right? One thing that I found just in my industry in general is, and this is something that we'll speak to again before the end of the call, is we're all very heart-centered. We're of service. And I think there's also a huge problem with being in sales and being heart-centered, wanting to take care of people, wanting to make sure that everything's taken care of, hospitality, if you will, those kinds of things. So let's talk about being heart-centered, and how does that kind of convolute the whole conversation as well?
Oh yeah, it changes everything to do with sales, right? Because when we think about it, again, go back and just think for a moment. When you're focused on selling your product to someone, are you more focused on yourself in that moment, or are you more focused on the client?
Right.
Right. And 9 times out of 10, everyone that we talk to that start sales all go, oh, well, I'm focused on me. Well, as long as you're focused on you, it's not like you're standing out on a street corner saying, hey, pick me, right? You should be more focused on the client. And as soon as you put that attention back on the client and what the client's needs are and what is it that you're trying to do for the client, and you see yourself as being that solution, all of a sudden it's not salesy. Right. But the problem being is that we make the focus so much about ourselves. Well, here's what I can do, and here's what I am, and here's what I offer. And it's like, that's all really great, but you're only, it's like you're only feeding your own ego.
Right.
And so as long as you're doing it, then that's a huge problem. And believe it or not, and I've learned this in the horse industry, right? Because when you're moving horses about, it's not about what comes out of our mouth sometimes, but it's even more so our energy. And so when we feed our ego, how does that show up in our body language? And a lot of times that's a turnoff before you even open up your mouth.
So this brings me, I don't think I shared this story with you, but it brings me again. I don't have horses, I have the dog. But when my very first training session with him, this is the second dog I've owned. The first one was in my 20s. So the training was more like, hey, can you open a beer or something? This time I took it seriously and thought, okay, let's go to doggy training. And the first lesson we had, I didn't bring the dog. It was just me and the trainer.
Yeah.
And the trainer said to me, because it was such a valuable lesson in life, but the trainer said to me, she had this cup, this mug of M&Ms. And I wish it would have been cheese, because I like cheese more than chocolate, but that's okay. She's like, hey, these are M&Ms. These are treats. You're going to be the dog. I'm your owner. And all you want is the M&Ms. Now, when you do what I say, you get an M&M. And that's all you want. That's all you're thinking about, is getting to the M&Ms. You just have to do what I say, and I'll give you one. I was like, okay, great. She's like, okay, so start walking around, be the dog. So I start walking around wondering, like, this is kind of weird, whatever. And she starts saying, Curly Willow. Carly Willow, Curly Willow. And she says that like 45 times. And finally, she's just screaming at the top of her lungs. And I'm trying to do all these different things, figuring out, what does Curly Willow mean? And now she's like standing up, Curly Willow, like screaming out loud. And finally, I looked at her, and it must have been a minute and a half. It was like the longest minute and a half of my life. And I just looked at her and I said, I have no idea what you're doing. She goes, how did it take you this long? Neither does your dog. Just because you're screaming, just because your body language, you're obviously upset. And that, exactly what you said, it really just personified what you said, that it's all in the approach. It's all in that internal feeling. It's all about the ego. She just wanted me to do what she was saying,
Mhm.
but I can't, right?
Yeah.
So I think communication, that's really what it's about. Sales is communication.
That was
So
communication, but when we talk about being heart-centered, it's about, like understanding, even as an event planner, right? There's a problem that people have as to why they come to you. And you being you knowing that problem that they have, how is it that your process is the solution to that?
mhm,
When you understand that in your mind, well, now how do we open our heart to be able to provide that? And
mhm,
everything begins to align with our head, our heart, and our gut. And that's when you're coming from that authentic place.
mhm,
That's what people are attracted to. It doesn't matter whether you don't have the perfect process or that you have like a little fumble along the way, or that, oh my goodness, I can't believe that we forgot to, maybe do this yesterday, but no big deal. We're on top of it today. Um, but when you're coming from that authentic place, that's when people are even more attracted to you. Like you can still have a really good talk, but that vibration and that energy that you bring to the table, like, oh my God, I know that person is confident, right? That's the person I want to do because you are authentic.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in alignment with yourself. So what happens? Let's talk a little bit about, because again, I just find that in my industry, and this is why I appreciate you being here today, sales are really challenging. People are doing the same things. Like one planner will do the exact same thing as the other planner. They're not attracting their perfect clients.
Mm.
They're getting booked by clients that they do not enjoy working with them, whom they shouldn't be working with. It's like this whole mental process of scarcity, of I have to get the sale again, like you're in
Yeah.
here, right? The
Well,
ego,
again, what you just said, when you're thinking about, I have to get the sale, who are you focused on, yourself or the client?
right?
And as long as we focus on the client, you'll get the sale.
Yeah. We think about like going to car dealerships. I think even as women, right? Like
Mm.
going to car dealerships and you have
Yeah.
this persona of what you think it's going to be like, which probably I think that's why there's that kind of
Mhm.
mindset about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but if you go back to like, how that can get worse, if you're in the event in any business, but as an event planner, if you don't, there's one thing where you're building your business, right? And so in building your business, you have to work inside of it. You have to make sure that all of like an engine, right? Like inside a car engine, everything is running just properly. But then the reality of it is, in order for that company to still grow, you have to independently work on yourself. And
mhm,
if you don't work on yourself and you don't improve your mental ability, your clarity, your confidence, well, then how does it get worse? Your business takes, that's where we start blaming things in society as to why they're not working. And
mhm,
it's not usually so. I mean, here we just went through a year of COVID, which, everyone has talked about had their worst year ever. We had two of our companies had 30% increases, right?
mhm,
You can either look at the problem or you can focus on solutions, what you put attention to. And so if you're not putting attention to yourself and you're not continuing to develop yourself and your own strength as a company owner or a founder or whatever, solo entrepreneurs have a tendency, because we wear so many hats, the one thing we can't do is step away from our business. But the reality of it is that's the number one thing that you need to do, is step away and get some additional training or coaching, or, go to a retreat or something that's going to give you new knowledge that's going to continue to work on you. Because when you do, then your business will actually grow. If you don't, right, how it gets worse. I mean, there's so much, frustration and anger and bitterness that can build up that eventually it's going to start to impact the people that work around you. It's going to
mhm,
impact the people that you attract, right? And it's going to impact relationships that you have. I mean, that's just like a spiral downward,
mhm,
you know. And like you say on your screen here, it says, what can it actually cost you? Like, think about it. It's not only monetary. Well, first it's going to cost you monetary, but what about mentally? What about
mhm.
relationships? What about physically? And if you look back over the
And
years,
reputation too, and
and
reputation.
yeah, if you go back, you say, okay, someone's in business for 5 years, right? What does it cost you not to work on yourself?
Mhm,
How much money? How much have you left behind or on the table because you haven't developed yourself?
right.
A lot of money. People usually say to me, "Oh my God, Gina, like I can't even believe you'd ask such a question. I can't put a number on that thinking about it." Like it's impossible for me to put a number on it. And the point is exactly that. Well, then why not get someone that can help you?
Right, because I mean, just talking about just the financial, what does it cost you? How many people have I talked to who decrease their pricing, go get
Oh
into
God, no. That's
negotiations without
the
even
worst
being
thing.
asked, just saying, "Oh God, no, that number freaks me out. I better charge less." What? Are you crazy?
Well, but that goes back to not understanding their own value, right? So we talked in the beginning about, well, what's the problem? What's the problem as to why people come to you, right? And so when you know the problem and you're the solution, there's this gap, right? That's the value.
Mhm.
As long as you know what you're going to solve, oh my God, that number continues to accelerate and increase.
Right.
And of course, the better you do your job, the more confident you get, the more you're going to charge.
Well, and that just goes back to, the ego thing because then, again, imposter syndrome, right? People thinking they're not worth it, or they're going to be hired by someone else. They're going to be hired by my competitor. Who are you thinking about at this point? Again, right?
Mhm.
And so then you reduce your fees. I remember I made the mistake early on. The only time I've ever made that mistake was where I gave into negotiation. It was one of the worst clients ever. I ended up getting
Mm.
fired by the client because I wasn't giving them the attention they thought they deserved. And I was like, wait, you negotiated my pricing. Like all of a sudden there's just a disconnect because you're not at the same level of
Right.
trust, of
And you
worthwhile.
don't understand, you yourself don't understand that value, because if you did, then you know that if that person's looking to negotiate, then what is it they're going to look to negotiate halfway through it? Like that's, again, knowing that ideal audience that you want to be, to be able to work with. For us, the small business owners and solo entrepreneurs that are having a challenge and they self-sabotage themselves. And just like yourself, you go through this like pre-phase of, what are their problems? How committed are you? Are you coachable? Certain things that you pre-qualify and ask them before you even get into that. If you're not a solo entrepreneur and you're, an employee of something, I'm not going to take that client on, even if I know that I can help them, because it's just not a fit. Now I'm going to start trying to change everything I do in order to accommodate one customer. Building a business like that is like pushing a rope up a hill. It's really hard.
Who is it? Sisyphus, right? That pushed
Mhm. Yeah.
the boulder or the rock. And the other thing I was thinking about as well. I mean, I started in corporate. I worked for high end resorts, and I was a catering sales manager. Do you know how many sales trainings I got? Zero, right?
Mhm.
And I came from corporate. I had a lot of experience going into it just
Mhm.
because of the environment that I was in. Something that's true for our industry is very few wedding and event business owners have come from a solid
Mm.
background like that and really have never had any sales experience, much less an environment of sales. And so you try to start figuring it out on your own,
Yeah.
which if I could turn back time, right?
Oh, I mean, I think we can all say that, but that's part of gaining wisdom and living life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To go through all those different things. And as coaches ourselves, I mean, now it's like, how can we help people go further, faster, with less effort because of all of our hard knock lessons that we've learned?
Yeah, I had one client who her challenge was her belief was that the culture that she services in the wedding industry, she's a designer, decor, and planner, but the culture is they're negotiators, right?
Mm.
They don't have money. She was from the East Coast, so there was this particular either a borough or something like that with a lot of this culture, and they just don't have the money, and so she ended up being known as the bargain. If you want a bargain, you go hire this person for this particular type of cultural weddings. And I'm like, but do you want to be known as the bargain person, or do you want to be known as the best in your field, in your
Right.
niche?
Right, but when we can't get what we're looking for, then we settle and we decrease.
Right.
You kind of go down, and again, it's like you yourself as an individual have to have a perception of who is it that you want to be, what audience do you want to serve, and what's that process that you're going to do, and you have to stick to it. If they can't afford your business, well, then that's not your client.
Right.
But if you keep settling and keep settling and keep settling, you're allowing other people to dictate how you're going to run your business versus you
Right.
running your business and attracting the people that you want to attract.
And then you're in this hamster wheel, right? Because now you're having to work twice as hard. Like you said,
Yeah.
you're trying to maneuver your business around what those clients' needs are versus building what you're wanting to build. So you're
Right.
getting further away from your goal. You're basically suffocating, treading water for so long that you're like, can I even do this any longer? Right?
Yeah.
Working 3 times as hard, and then your talk about ego, your ego gets deflated. I mean, these consequences are huge, right?
Yeah,
And then you
for
suffer
sure.
in
I mean,
silence. Your health starts wearing down. You start
mhm.
eating more because we're drinking more wine or Netflixing to just
Coping.
ignore it, coping
Yeah, we're coping
mechanisms.
all the different things that we do on the after hours of work, is just trying to cope through the problems that we're having. And we think that time will resolve it, or we think that, maybe reading a new book would resolve it. I mean, granted, you can still learn some new stuff, but the reality of it is the fastest way to resolve it is to get a coach,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially a coach that has done and been through what you want, because that's a whole nother, like, there's lots of coaches out there, and we've had clients that have come to us and, like, well, I want to make sure I know what it is that I'm getting. And so you always want to make sure that a coach is someone that's succeeded and done something. Like, let me give you an example. One of the ladies that I was on a call with the one day, and she was talking about coaching, and I asked her what her monthly income goal was, and she said 10,000. Well, I know for a fact that if I'm looking to get to $50,000 a month in revenue, I can't hire a coach that's done 10,000.
Right.
Right. And that's a key point of knowing, for me, my highest month in 1 month was 1.2 million. If you want to get to 1.2 million in sales, I know that I can help you because I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
And so hiring someone like yourself, right, these event planners that are having all these challenges, you can go further faster and create more money and be more lucrative and get your head out of the trash if you have someone that you can come back to and rely on as a coach that's been through what you've been through.
Yeah. And, in our industry, like right now is the time things are opening up. We went through
Yeah.
COVID. Everything was like molasses. The clients that I did have over, the shutdown and pandemic are killing it right now because they did take that time and they did have the foresight instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, our business is wrecked, thinking, oh, wow, I have 18 months to breathe and build.
Yeah.
But it's never too late.
Yeah.
And this is the time to do it. And to do it quickly is really the answer because we're all so busy. When I hear people saying, oh, I'm just too busy, I don't have time for this. It's like, wait, you don't have time to make more money and work less?
Yeah.
And work with people you enjoy working with? Like, wait,
Yeah.
what? Like literally have the recipe of freedom?
Well, again, it goes back to what are they focused on, themselves or their clients?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Sorry, go ahead.
Like, I think we all need help, along the way. I know personally over the years, and Zoe, a little bit about my story, but I was orphaned as an infant. And today I'm a decamillionaire. I couldn't have gotten to that point if I hadn't hired coaches along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had multitude of coaches for different things. Like when I wrote my book and became a #1 bestseller, I hired a coach that was a #1 best-selling coach because that's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So you find specific coaches for specific niches as you need them.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be where I am today had I not hired a coach.
100%. I mean, I talk about in my group, I started with Four Seasons Hotels right out of college and I was 21 years old and they have a mentorship program and for starter level managers, right? Assistant managers and managers. And our mentors were the higher level, the executives. And my coach, my mentor was Mr. Craig Reed. And I always talk about him. He was the youngest. I mean, talk about fortunate and luck and just what a great way to start my career. He was the youngest general manager the company had ever seen. He still is the youngest in doing everything that he does. The way that he would talk to me and share things with me that really opened up my eyes. I was 21. I thought I was fearless and I knew everything. And oh my gosh, the amount of stuff that he taught me and then got my career going. And then every other Four Seasons I worked with, I had a mentor. And that is the big secret to listen. Four Seasons, you guys, they're they charge their value, they charge their worth, they're known around the world. Everything that you could possibly imagine and wanting in your business, they have. And the number one key is get a mentor, get a coach.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. 100%.
It's, when you think about it, it's like, think of a coach as like an accountability partner in a sense, right? If you don't have that coach, then you're less likely to do what you're supposed to.
Well, yeah, right. It's like going to the gym on your own saying, oh, I'm going to work out. I'm going to work out. I'm going to lose the weight versus having a trainer, someone that's going to be there 5 minutes before you, who's going to push you to add 5 pounds to your lifting routine, whatever the case might be, right? You're going to see those results quicker.
Yeah, there's sweat in the game. They're going to hold you accountable and you're going to get your stuff done that you need to. It's just a matter of whether or not, are you really ready to have a really, because, it's often some small businesses and solo entrepreneurs. One of the questions I notoriously ask is this a hobby for you or is it a business?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like, no, it's a business. Okay, well, then when are you going to get serious about it and treat it like a business?
100%. You have to invest in yourself and your future.
Yeah.
Like the number one thing you need to invest in is your future, right?
Sure.
It's not about necessarily growing your Instagram. It's not necessarily about, you can outsource other things, but your self growth. So, yes, a coach is going to hold you accountable. You're going to see those results quickly. And the mind trash that happens because we're heart-centered, because we're solopreneurs.
Come on, let's be real, Zoe. What kind of mind trash have you had over the years?
Oh my gosh, just even today. I mean, like let's just talk about even today. Like, oh gosh, I mean, just the stuff as a planner, right? Yeah. Like, because other than the coaching, as a planner, I've always thought, or there's these things that come up like, oh gosh, I'm not really a designer. I don't, design isn't my thing. And then I look at pictures of my events. I'm like, damn, I'm pretty good designer, right? I was like, but it keeps creeping up only because, again, I might compare myself to other people. It's like, I don't design like that person, right? I don't design like that person. I have my own design way to do things. Like that's just one example.
But so it doesn't matter. Like I love when, people always try to compare themselves and it's like, you don't want to be the same. No. That's what makes you. You want to be different than everybody else. But my gosh, the mind trash. I have to tell you, I had last Thursday it started, and I've got family members like that know all of this zodiac and moon and sun and astrology type stuff. And I called my daughter-in-law the other day, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, but like, is the moon or something not aligning? Because I feel like I am completely out of whack. I'm a 52-year-old woman. I don't understand how and why I'm being emotional today, And and she went into this long explanation. Well, it lasted like 3 days. And Sunday, my husband said something to me, and I literally just broke down crying. Like, nothing's working. And he's like, how much have you made this year? Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, okay. And then, and when you're on that entrepreneurial path, oh my God, believe me, coaches know the crap you've been through. And we even ourselves go through it sometimes. Mm-hmm. My daughter and my son both work for me. Of my 4 kids, 2 of them came back to work for me. And the other day, Monday afternoon, it was like, I just couldn't work. My head was so in the weeds, Zoe, it was unreal. And so we were sitting up by the house, we were by the pool. My son and my daughter were they were giving me this pep talk. It was so beautiful. And I've got tears kind of rolling out of the sides of my eyes. And my daughter, Missy, says to me, Mom, you know that when you have these kind of days, the next day is like so friggin' amazing. And I'm like, that's true. The next day I come to work, I've got a bank contract that I'm working on. I had 2 breakthrough calls. It was the best day ever. So she came into the office, and later that afternoon yesterday, I said to her, can you remind me from now on, can I just cry really quick every day so that later at the end of every day it's good or something, but we make ourselves suffer.
Oh my gosh, such a BFD, a big fucking deal. Like, are you kidding me right now? Right? It is crazy. And, even as coaches, I mean, that's how, for those of you guys that don't know, that's how Gina and I met. We enrolled in a coaching program. We're both in this coaching. And talk about picking the best of the best, right? Like
Yeah.
you want, like what you said earlier, you want a mentor and coach, and we have quite a few of them that are elite, best of the
Yeah.
best.
Well, wait a second. I'm the best of the best.
We all are. We all are in our own right, right? So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's beautiful. Well, listen, I mean, there's so many event planners. This is such an opportunity to think about, yes, you've had COVID. Yes, you've had some stuff go on. Think outside of the box. But now more than ever is an opportunity to align yourself with a coach, someone like Zoe, so that you can actually like really think through your business and what it is that you're doing, so that when it comes to the whole sales process, when you've gotten all those weeds out of your head, oh my God, spot on. Your growth is going to go so much faster by taking the money and investing it in yourself. Like for a perfect example, Zoe, we've got we have an upcoming workshop. It's called Heart-Centered Sales.
Yep,
well, that particular workshop is a 3-day event. When we've done this, it's a $2,500 investment. When they leave, most of the time they only need 1 or 2 clients, and they have it within the first week. Right? Yeah. Because they've got sweat in the game now for them to learn something. And as soon as they leave, it's even funny how when they're here on the second day, the night before something happened and someone called, and it just, I enrolled a new client, because you're taking the time to work on yourself and get out of your business. Your business starts, sometimes you got to let it do its thing, like get out of the way and let it grow a little bit,
It's kind of that expression, you can't watch like you can't watch a pot of water boil, or it'll never boil.
You could, but good luck.
It just takes longer, right? And you're sitting there like stewing over this boiling water. It's like, it's going to boil. Like the business is going to continue. You just need to step away, go do some other things, and come back. Yeah. And I love what you said. I missed it now. Maybe it'll come back. But there was something that you said that I thought was just genius, amongst all these other things. But talk to us then a little bit. So this is in October. It's Heart-Centered Sales. The link is right here, yarcourt.com/heart-centered-sales. I'll also post the link on the live. But tell us a little bit about what's the process? How long is it? All of that.
Yeah. Well, part of what I do, the unique thing that we do is we use horses to help people, right? So this gives you an opportunity to step away from your business, work on yourself while you're working on your business. And it's really about connecting the head, the heart, and the gut, right? And a lot of times we so often operate from our head, which puts out a different vibration in our body. And we show up differently because we're usually talking to the ego. As soon as we can get them to, because the heart is like a clam, but as soon as we can get them to open up the heart, it's amazing how many new people they're attracted to, because now they're becoming that authentic self. And when you become authentic, you don't have to work at being salesy. Salesy happens.
It happens. Right? Yep. 100%, because we're all human. Like we have the ingredients, we have the heartbeat, we have the brain, we have the gut. It's just about meshing those together.
Yeah. So we mesh them together. We give them the clarity that they need, that their business needs. That helps them to give them the confidence. But then we also balance the external energy, right? Because we're working with the horses, and that's the really cool part. So it's a 3-day event.
Is it a live event where you are? Or?
Yes, you have to come to the arena. Yeah, northeast corner of Pennsylvania. We live in what's called the Endless Mountain region. So we're high on the mountaintop with panoramic views. And to be honest, October will be absolutely beautiful because we have all the leaves changing and fall foliage coming in. 3 days in the arena with us. October 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Nice. Okay. Yep. So you guys go to yarcourt.com/heart-centered-sales. Gina, what a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, this was fun. This was a lot of fun. And Zoe, remind your event planners that maybe are watching and listening. What you do is absolutely spectacular. And if they're struggling in their business as well, getting that business going with planning and knowing the right things to do, then by all means, they need to reach out. And I'm pretty sure, don't you do like strategy calls or something?
Yeah. So, this is actually what I was going to say. Thanks for the reminder about my clients, the results that they see. It's the same thing, right? When you start working with someone else, My recent client, she's 1 month into the program, has booked 2 of her perfect clients. It's paid for the program 1,000 times over. She's invested in herself. For her, she's someone who's been talk about mind trash. And I love her. I love you, Emily, if you're watching. She's been in business 30 years. She's a photographer. She's a creative. She's heart-centered. Her words were, I hate sales, right? I hate selling myself, but it's just
you're not selling yourself.
You're not selling yourself, and it's all about this inner work. It's just about showcasing who you are, your essence to your perfect clients, and they will find you. They will fall in love with you. They will hire you, and there's no haggling. There's no I have to think about it. I mean, it's just such a process that is it's not a sales process. It literally becomes this 3-day experience for enrolling your perfect clients, couples into, whatever it is that you are, whether it's a planner, whether any type of creative in the wedding and event industry. So it's just magnificent. And yes, for anyone who feels the way that we've talked about, you run away from sales, you have the imposter syndrome, you negotiate your pricing down, even though the client hasn't asked.
Sabotage.
Constantly attracting people who want to haggle your pricing. Put a stop to it. Let's get on the phone. Go to zoefelici.biz/apply.
Yay! I'm so happy to be here with you. I hope that we brought a whole bunch of value to your clients and your potential clients, and things keep evolving, because you know what? By the time I think the end of this year into 2022, people are tired of being home, and more people want to come out. The business of planning and being an event planner is going to skyrocket. So get the help you need now, so you're even more prepared for when it all begins to happen.
When it all begins, and there's so many newbies coming up. So how do you set yourself apart from these newbies? So that's a whole other conversation.
For sure. Well, Zoe, it's been great coming today. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Gina. Thanks, everyone. Ciao for now.